Hey. So here we are. So,
We're here.
Jimbob is just like he's like Pee Wee Herman. It's just like that's all he's got is memes and insults. And give me an argument, and it's like, and you give him an argument, and then he's like, and then he interjects with his own bullshit, and there just is no talking to that person. Like I was watching the thing with Grayson yesterday on gender and naturalism. And I'm surprised that Grayson had the patience to stay there that long, with the kind of shit he was putting up with. Did you listen to any of that?
Just a little bit of it.
Yeah, and he was talking to that cringy guy that's on that the Crucible show, the one where they get a bunch of women and fight with them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a bunch of bullshit. And they were trying to trip him up on, gender being a social construct or a cultural thing and all that stuff, and going back and forth. And it's so cringy to listen to them talk about it. They're so into the penis. I mean, the penis is like the most important thing to them. They're obsessed with it, kind of like Trump with crowd sizes. They're just, I don't know. They're so, and they're completely emotionally driven. Well, they have an AI that they trained up on brain scans, and that AI can predict whether you have a male or a female 90% of the time. Okay. And that might seem like, oh my God, yeah, that's a lot, because there are very few differences between male and female brains. But 90% of the time, what about the other 10%? Okay, something like 0.7% are transgender people, and people that are basically have a slightly varied gender from what we've been traditionally raised with, and 10% means that 10% of people have brains where it is undetectable whether you're a male or female. And Robert Sapolsky did a wonderful thing about all of the things that happen after the penis. Basically, you got the penis, we know that. But I mean, there's a whole lot of other steps in development where there's a whole lot of variation depending on your genome. And the truth of the matter that those of us that are what do they call us, cis, basically have no idea what other people are feeling, what it's like to be them. And these fuckers claiming to be Republicans want to get right in there and unzip these people and find out what's in their pants. They're totally obsessed with it. It's just like, I don't know.
That's what I told. That's exactly what I told Jimbob.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah. And then
you sit up at night just obsessing over people's junk or something. It's like, what's your problem?
It's like, what the fuck? Just let people be, for fuck's sake. Anyway. Oh, let's see. See now and no. We have, who else we got? I don't really have anybody in my chat at all. Got like nobody watching. Oh, so sad. Anyway, I thought we'd listen to a little Bahnsen because he has Jimbobian arguments, apparently. Jimbob seems to agree with Bahnsen, and I think Bahnsen is his playbook. And Bahnsen died. Didn't he die a long time ago? Greg Bahnsen? He was the original preceptor. Greg Bahnsen. Let's take a look here. Okay, where's the wiki? Accused of child abuse? What? What the hell is that? Was he accused of child abuse? Well, that would make sense. Most of those fuckers, they got some shit in their closets, Okay, let's see.
That's That's almost like a tagline on all these things anymore. You just throw that on the end. Oh yeah, and by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So he died at 47 in 1995. He had to undergo a third aortic valve implant surgery, and he gone. Oh man! So he didn't last very long. Father of David L. Bahnsen, American portfolio manager. I think that Bahnsen Funds or something always comes up. Anyway, so he is like the original apologist, I think, or something. Not entirely sure. Hello, see here now. See now, and no. Okay. Well, conservative. They're a link. What? I am a Republican. Hey. So I think, I identify as a Republican. However, I will not vote for any Republican until the Republican Party straightens their shit out. They're going to have to come a long way to get back to the point where I'll vote for those bastards.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there was always political differences, but either side could always pick some things that they agree on,
Yeah.
Now it's got to be one or the other. It's like, well, that's ridiculous.
I mean, everybody was more toward the middle, and now they're just way, well, the Republicans anyway. We like Harrison Waltz are middle of the road. They are not, way off to the left or way off to the right, and like Trump is way off to the right. So I just. Is there a link? Okay, a link to join. So, who's see now and no?
That's Lupin. He's
okay.
He's very Christian. I don't know if he's ready for this conversation or not.
Oh no, he's okay. He's that guy that's got all those weird theories about Christianity, right?
He's got his own thing, yeah.
Yeah, kind of strange thing. Yeah, I think we had him on before, and it didn't work out. It's just not the kind of content that we're doing here. So I don't know. Oh, I thought we'd listen to a little Bahnsen and see if we can hit off that and maybe talk a little bit about reality and naturalism and things like that, and how Jimbob, he's constantly throwing out category error. And he doesn't know what category error actually means. Now, category error was popularized or probably first talked about with Hillary Putnam in 1949 in his book, Concept of Mind, I think it is. And he does a really good job of talking about how basically we have this concept of mind, and then we think that it is something that we can talk about in the same way that we could talk about apples and cars and superheroes or whatever. And it's not. This concept of mind is an entirely different category, that humans have developed this sort of idea about what our minds are, and that we have this personal, private mind going on. And Hillary Putnam just kicks that all in the ass and talks about that being a category error. And Jimbob does this all the time with his, can you find physical objects that are true or false? And he's making a category error by even asking that question or stating that. And he doesn't get it because he doesn't really understand what the category error is. The classic demonstration of what a category error is if, they're giving a guy a tour of Harvard. And they're showing them the classrooms, and they're showing them the laboratories, and they're showing them the cafeterias and the sidewalks and the trees and shrubs. And then he says to him, yeah, but when are you going to show me the universities? Right? So his mistake, the category error, okay, you have a set of things that we would consider Harvard or that make up Harvard, like classrooms and laboratories and buildings and sidewalks and all of that. And that is a set of things. And to think that the university itself is one additional element of that set would be a category error, because the university basically is the whole set. It's sort of a concept that kind of encapsulates the whole set. And idiot Jimbob doesn't understand category error, so he misuses it everywhere, and he makes category errors every time he opens his mouth about philosophy, and he can't get it right.
Well, isn't that the same thing he was saying about we can't see the universe because you can only look at like one planet or star at a time?
Yeah,
But if you have enough telescopes all pointing at the same time, you could see the visible universe.
yeah, different
Right?
parts of it. So he's saying you can't see the well, to see the universe is sort of a concept we have, right? Of all those things that we have observed and have seen. Oh, that's the other thing is his NASA bullshit. It's like, well, did you see video of the rocket when it left space? And or did you see video of them building the space station? I think they did have some video of that, right? Like one astronaut would video another one, but he insists that that's all fake. That's all CGI. None of that really happened. So anyway,
Well, we've got those Hubble images with a big chunk of the universe in it. You know,
yeah,
I forget the number, but there's some huge number of galaxies. You know, they're not stars. Each of those dots are galaxies.
yeah.
You know, in that picture. So I don't know what they did.
Well, they only look at a
Wide field or whatever, but yeah, if you take that one and then move it a little bit and take another one and move it a little bit and take another one.
Yeah, it's not wide field. It's just a very small part of the sky has basically millions of galaxies pop up in it. No matter where you look,
Right.
It's all over the place.
But yeah, but it's like anything though. It's like I can't observe my room all at once either. You know what I mean? I have to look over here and I have to look over there, and right. I mean, but the room is still here. But obviously you have to piece it together by looking around the room. So
His version of naturalism and physicalism, the physicalism and naturalism that he attacks, is from the eyes of an 11-year-old, and that's why I think these guys they're emotionally driven and not much else. I mean, they can't really think. They're not smart enough to take somebody else's view and replay it back to them where it makes sense. So when they talk about naturalism, or if you get in a conversation with Jimbob, he'll listen for like 3 minutes, and then he'll ask one of his questions, which indicates that he has not been listening to anything that you said at all. And he's
it's
just way off.
the Hovind syndrome. Yeah, he's just waiting for his turn to talk.
Yeah. Yep.
Even when they were talking their in-depth Bible study thing they were doing with Posh and that the one day, the whole time, if you watch his eyes, he's over there and he's reading the chat and everything. He's not paying attention to what they're talking about. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and he wants to, hit his buttons and put up his memes, and and it gets tiresome listening to his memes. At first, they're funny, but then after you've seen them just over and over and over again, it really gets kind of old, I think. I don't know. I have trouble listening to. That's why I always pull a transcript and then search for keywords and try to see what he has to say. But okay, I'm going to play a little bit of this, and we'll see if we can get our hands on the part. This is the video that Jimbob was playing, I believe. I finally found it, but it took some doing to find the damn thing. There's about 60,000 videos of Bahnsen just talking on a radio program or something, and those come up first. But anyway, see what we got here.
Ignorance, that I set forth unto you. The God that made the world and all things therein, he being Lord of heaven and earth, dwells not in temples made with hands, neither is he served by men's hands as though he needs anything, seeing he himself gives to all life and breath and all things. And he made of one every nation of men to dwell on the face of the earth,
Yeah,
having
probably.
determined their appointed, if aptly one of us, even his offspring, is like unto the times of ignorance, therefore God overlooked. But now he commands, he has appointed, ordained from the dead. But others said, went out from
I don't
among
do
them.
this
So it was
Bible stuff.
Dionysius the Areopagite, part of the reading of God's word.
Okay.
Here we have in the New Testament the most extensive and clear and explicit encounter between the mindset of God's people, the mindset that is given by God's word, the mindset of the Christian, and the mindset of the world in its most sophisticated form, in its highest expression of philosophical technicality in Athens. We read that Paul was waiting for his colleagues, and while he was in Athens,
Don't care.
you're going to see idolatry everywhere, idols of wood and stone, but you're going to find people living for some kind of ultimate principle or pleasure that is quite contrary to Jehovah, the Lord of heaven and earth. You're going to see people that respect in their thinking a higher authority than God speaking in his word. You're going to find people who do not respect.
What would that mean exactly? People that live for something, that they consider a higher authority than God and his word. Like, does that apply to people that, are going to work and try to put groceries in the house and put a roof over their kids' heads? Which is pretty much what everybody does, right? I mean,
Well, it's kind of confusing too, because people are looking for something or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, but different people find different things that give them meaning or whatever. So
right.
if it's if that religion speaks to you, then it speaks to you, but something else speaks to somebody else. That's the part they miss, whether it's another religion or whether it's climbing a mountain or whatever, whatever that experience is, that it's not so widespread that everybody has to have it, because obviously a lot of people in the world don't have it.
Well, there's no one thing that everybody is worshiping. What do they call it? Mammon or something? Or like, these guys think that we worship the world and, worldly things, and that we sit around and worship all day. No, people have varied lives. They get up, and each day, like, some days are excited about going on a vacation. Other days are working on their lawn. Other days are, involved in politics or doing YouTube. Nobody has like one big worldly thing that they're worshiping like these guys do, right?
And those are also a lot of similarities people have. That's one of the things that we miss too, that across the world, yeah, they're waking up in the morning, they're getting their kids ready, they're going to work, they're doing their thing, they're paying their bills just like everybody else. So
yeah, they big dumb.
Gods don't real. I've got it implanted in their minds over there. So
yeah.
Hopefully I'm doing some good.
Yeah, the fact that he picked the meme, with a picture of you, which we're looking at right now, indicates that he didn't judge that, because I looked at some of the other ones, and there were better ones. I mean, the guy that did this really did not deserve an award of any kind. Anyway,
it's just it looks like a little gimp job there. He just blew up my nose, and my nose is big enough; it doesn't need any help.
Okay, let's see. Does he mean that Jehovah, that is the only name that comes from Christians? Okay, Hebrew and added. I don't know what that means. That's why they have.
They're big on the Jehovah is the right name thing, and
okay.
That's what he's saying.
That's a good comment. That's why they have arguments, because proof isn't important, because they don't have any. I don't know. Anyway, and let's see. The only argument with the atheists is because they can show off their omissions and misunderstanding to a passive onlooker. Yeah. And, the average person doesn't sit around and think, oh, what is my worldview? And how am I going to justify knowledge? And how do I justify truth? And all of this bullshit. The average person does not do this. And so the average atheist is not going to do it either. The average atheist just doesn't believe in your fucking Christian God. Get over it. Like, the definition of atheism for me is when I am looking at or talking to a Christian, then I am an atheist in relation to their belief. Okay? Other than that, atheism has nothing to do with me.
Robin said she had my shirt on last night. I missed it. I had a long day yesterday. Robin won a Grassman shirt.
Okay, cool.
She said she had it on the show last night. So everybody has to go take a look.
We're listening to Bahnsen. Are you familiar with him?
Are you asking me?
Scott, he's muted.
Oh yeah, I've heard the name. He's one of those pre-supper people that they hero worship.
I think he was
Scott.
original pre-supper.
Hey Dave, how's it going?
Good to hear from you.
Okay. He gets in this. Now Jimbob says that Bahnsen is doing Jimbob's argument, but they said he has some omission, so he leaves some things out according to Jimbob.
The Lord Jesus Christ. They live unto themselves, and they live for some other ultimate commitment than to serve Him. You'll see idolatry in its many forms. You'll see probably expressions of the occult when you go to college. You're going to see expressions of hedonism when you go to college, and existentialism and materialism, and on and on and on. And so here we have Paul, like you going to college, being provoked by the idolatry all about him.
See, they think that we have idols, like our beliefs are somehow idolatry, and what they're doing is they're projecting their own idolatry, right?
Yeah, I think can I summarize what I just heard him say?
Yeah.
In words, everything that ain't me is bad. Everything ain't me bad. I mean, you probably don't even need to have adjectives or anything. Just keep it simple. Maybe not even use vowels. Just it ain't me bad.
Yeah.
And me right, you wrong.
Exactly.
Right, you wrong. Yeah, they don't like scientism a lot, and I do. Kind of my favorite thing.
And the Bible says, so he reasoned in the synagogue and in the marketplace every day. Please tell everybody they have to. He perceived why it was wrong and what he believed and why it was right. He reasoned with them every day. And then verse 18 tells didn't want to hear more from him because the word babbler is not the best translation. Technically in Greek, it is, what is this seed picker saying? A seed picker was a reference to a beads of call to this gutter sparrow. What is this different Areopagus,
get to it?
which is the Greek version of Mars Hill, distorted, twisted way. And Paul says, I've seen even your altar to portion of worship, even though it's self-contradictory. You want to find this God, and yet there's something that's keeping us. That the reason why God controls all things is so that men might feel after him. Now, the language of feeling after God here is the same language that Homer uses about the Cyclops when he loses his eye. He feels around. He's in the darkness. He's trying to find his way, but he's really...
I'm just not finding anything that's... I'm not finding the stuff that Jimbob was talking about. Let's see, realm of ideas, ultimate truth, philosophy, rational epistemology, one cannot choose. Why is this? Am I in the wrong video?
Never trust a preacher's citation of history or Greek philosophy or anything like that. So what he's saying is probably wrong. But yeah, you look it up and shit like that.
I'm trying to find the one that I pulled the transcript for. And let's see here. Because I thought he actually had some shit to say. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is a video that Jimbob was looking at. Really blinded, and Paul is saying, okay, let me search for that. Really blinded. Nope, not finding it. Oh my goodness.
Now what did you do?
I don't know if I pulled the wrong transcript or what I did. Okay, let me go to the beginning of this transcript and see if I pulled the right one. As we come to this last session. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. No. Let's see if we can remember. So it's a different one. Yeah, but that's not the one I wanted. Shit. Oh well, guys, go ahead and hate on Jimbob for a while while I check this out and figure out what's going on.
I'm just kind of reacting to what I've been hearing, and it's just basically dogma, dogma, dogma. Them other people are bad.
I thought he had a little more meat than that, but
As long as you form a community, I guess it doesn't matter if they're hating people for the wrong reasons.
yeah.
What does this mean? And it's like, okay, well, here's the definition. Oh, so you looked it up in the dictionary? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what it means.
That's what you do.
Yeah. Oh, you copied and pasted that out of the dictionary? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did.
Oh, let's see. I cannot find what I'm looking for. 440 in every one of these worldviews.
When I was growing up, my mom would never tell us what a word means. She always would just point to the bookshelf and say, "Look it up." And of course, she was always pointing to the dictionary.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of a dick move, actually.
Well, she just, got tired of us being lazy.
Yeah, well. Okay, let me see if I can find
So what do we do? To spite our parents, we invented Google.
That's one less excuse I give people for not looking something up, because you don't even have to type. You can ask the box sitting on your shelf there, and it'll tell you. So,
The Christian Faith, Part 4. Oh, my God.
I was just talking the other day. I don't have a lot of specifics all stored away in my brain, because I don't need to, especially nowadays. If I'm cooking something and I need to know how many cups of flour or whatever, I can just ask the little box on the shelf there.
Has become this common.
I don't sit there and go, maybe I should just guess how many flour or eggs or whatever. No, I don't have to. I can ask the little answer box sitting right there. People have no excuse.
Somehow I got the wrong video up. I'm not sure exactly what I did, but no, I got the right one. So I think he's going to talk about natural
God. In their heart of hearts, they know God. They couldn't think without knowing God. They couldn't get along in this world without knowing God. All of their experience would be meaningless without knowing God, and yet they suppress it in unrighteousness. Knowing God, they do not glorify Him as God, and for that reason, Paul says, they're led into vain and futile thinking. And that's the point we pick up on right now when we start talking about specifically how can you defend the Christian worldview over against the non-Christian worldview. And I'm going to put some things up on the board and talk about that. But before we do, just one more point underlying the impossibility of neutrality. When we talk about worldviews, we are talking about how we should see reality, how we know about reality, and how we should live. What are some of the worldviews that we've been exposed to? Anybody? I'm sorry? Atomism, okay? Monism? Pragmatism? Anybody got Well, determinism is one of the subcategories. That's right. Dualism. Okay, so we have all these isms, right? Every one of them tells you something about the nature of reality.
Christianism.
Too many isms.
Christianism.
Every one of these worldviews tells you something about the nature of knowledge, how a man knows what he knows.
And there's a lot of ways of thinking about both of those things.
And every one of these worldviews tells you how you should live your life and what attitudes you should have, tells you about ethics.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Now, some people have suggested that in order to choose between worldviews, what you should do is, first of all, establish your theory of knowledge. That is, get an epistemology. Remember that word? It's going to be on the quiz. Epistemology, theory of knowledge, the nature and limits of human knowledge.
It's an actual college course, eh? In some Bible college or something back in the day. Okay, so no, you do not have to first figure out your epistemology, because we're all here talking in a language that everybody else can understand. We all are here sitting in front of a computer screen in a house, presumably, and we understand all of that stuff. So we have this entire shared base of knowledge already, right? And you do not have to start going down and justifying that knowledge or coming up with any clear ideas about epistemology in order to start arguing about something. Okay? At least I don't think so. What do you think, Scott? Dave? I mean,
I get lost when they start talking about too many isms. It's just
too many isms, right?
you know,
Yeah.
and, well, you don't understand because you don't have the right hermeneutics and all this, and it's like, it just seems to me that it's just more excuses and excuses. And I always say, the more they try to explain the Bible or their beliefs, or whatever, the less sense it makes. It's adding to it. Adding to it is not helping.
Yeah, verbal fluff to just because he's got a half hour to fill out behind that podium, so might as well start talking about all the epistemology you're not an expert in, so you can't know anything, and all the metaphysics you don't know. So, gosh, you're not qualified to have your own opinion. So just listen to me. Just listen to me. I got it all.
And yeah, I never cared for sermons, anyways, because it's here's a nice little verse here, here's a nice little verse here, and here's a nice little verse here that goes along with whatever my message is of the day, to be nice to your neighbor, or whatever the message is. So you just pick and choose, but there's no actual reading of any context in that story, where it might have been, they slaughtered the whole city, but then they gave this poor widow some bread. So you get in the sermon and all you're hearing is, oh, look, they gave the poor widow some bread. Isn't that great?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Oh, let's see here. Where the hell are we? I want this to go away.
We've got Breakfast Tacos weighing in. I asked him what his thoughts about pre-sup is.
Yeah.
Bahnsenism.
He said he's a fan of this guy, Mike. Thinking about doing some future material, maybe. So
you're a fan?
There you go.
Who's a fan of Bahnsen?
Well, he likes to watch Bahnsen videos because there's so many of them.
Yeah, not only that, but they're so transparent.
They say we should work out a theory of knowledge and then apply that theory, that method of knowing, to the facts of experience, and then decide what reality is all about. So very simply, you've got something of a two-step procedure here. You get your epistemology without any metaphysical commitments or prejudices, and then you apply your epistemology to gain some kind of metaphysical conclusion. Is reality?
Why? No one needs to do that. No one that wants to go jogging, ride a bike, buy groceries, needs to fucking get their epistemology and figure out what reality is. Because we all know what reality is, right? I mean...
But along the lines, it helps if you know how to calculate a heart rate, heart rate goal or whatever. Use whatever formula, like 220 minus age or 207 minus 70% of your age or whatever. Right. It helps to know a little bit of kinesiology, but that's just all to, help you in a particular goal or a particular task.
Yeah.
But what is your definition of reality? And if I give you the definition of reality, you're not going to like my definition of reality.
Yeah.
So let's look up what the definition of reality is. And you're not going to like that definition either, because it doesn't match with what you want to say reality is.
My definition.
It's just a distraction.
The things on my desk, the things I'm looking at in front of me, it's reality with a lowercase r. And when you start talking about reality with an uppercase r, I suspect you're bullshitting me and that you have a religious idea about reality. So, anyway.
Reality one, is it made up of two kinds of things? Is it a bunch of atoms of matter? If you want to know the nature of reality, it seems to some people reasonable that you should first of all decide how we know what we know, and then ask, what do we know about the nature of reality? And you're going to be exposed to that so often, and it's taken so much for granted, even by many Christian apologists.
Okay, let's listen to that again, so you can get my point.
That you should first of all decide how we know what we know, and then ask, what do we know?
Okay, how do we know what we know, right? The best example that we have of how do we know what we know is when you watch a newborn turn into a toddler, turn into a little preschooler and turn into a teenager. And that's how we know what we know. And we have examples over and over again about how humans acquire their knowledge of what reality is. And pretty soon the teenager is learning how to drive a car, right? In order to learn how to drive a car, you have to have a pretty firm idea what reality is. So, we have all of that as adults that we've all gone through and that we can watch millions of other human beings go through. Or in our own personal life, we've probably watched dozens. Scott, you're watching your grandkids acquire their knowledge of reality. And
oh, yeah. And we've not talked about epistemology once.
No, not once. And have you asked them what their foundation for knowing is?
Yeah, but then my youngest one pooped his diapers, and the other one kind of just drooled a little.
Well, that sounds like pretty concrete to me.
Anyway, this shit is not that complicated, when you just want to live a life. Anyway, we'll see where he goes with it.
About the nature of reality. And you're going to be exposed to that so often, and it's taken so much for granted, even by many Christian apologists, that I'd like to take just a moment and give you a little hokey illustration to show you why that cannot happen. One cannot choose a theory of knowledge without, in some measure, presupposing already something about the nature of reality.
Okay. So let's unpack that. Okay, what are we presupposing about the nature of reality when we wake up in the morning and we get out of bed?
You don't really think about reality when you get up in the morning. When I get up in the morning, I think about, am I going to trip over the dog?
Yeah, trip over the cat. And
I will experience reality in a heightened way if I do trip over the dog and my big fat face hits the floor.
I have one
reality. It's the concreteness of the woodenness, I guess, of that floor.
Yeah, my reality is coffee. Where's my coffee? Coffee.
It starts out with sensory experience or observation or all of your sensory inputs and memories and expectations and muscle memory. I pretty much do the same thing every morning, to where some mornings I have to wonder, did I start the coffee? Oh my goodness, did I take my blood pressure medicine? Just all of these things are so common that sometimes I have to stop and wonder what I did, that very morning.
Yeah, and what epistemic justification do you use to stand up when you get out of bed? I mean,
absolutely none, other than this is my leg and it needs to straighten up and step on
Yeah.
the floor. And
So you have faith.
automatic.
So you have faith that there's going to be a floor there.
yeah, I do.
I think that's
I
a
have-
distortion of the word faith, and it brings it down to a very pedantic and trivial level.
Well, it is kind of trivial. I mean, we have faith in the world all the time. I mean, when we open our mouths and sound comes out, we have faith, right? That something's going to happen. When I say a word to you guys, I have faith that you're going to hear the word and you're going to parse it almost properly, if not properly. I mean, there's faith everywhere.
I have faith this chair is going to hold me up, but thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago, whenever the first chairs were being constructed, I might not have had as much faith that it was going to hold me up.
Right.
Because a lot of chairs had to fail for people and then eventually engineers to figure out, well, you should put a brace here and, make sure it's level and,
Yeah. Yeah, my daughter sold me this table and 2 chairs, and I sat on one, and it was like a metal chair, and that fucking thing folded up like like it just like a hammock or like a folding bed. It just folded up, and I was on the floor, and I had a little less faith in chairs after that. But I still pretty much have faith when I sit on something. So, I mean, the thing is that it's not this goddamn complicated, this reality thing, right? It's in front of us. We have, if you want to call it presuppositions, well, it's not presuppositions. We have been immersed in this reality since we were single-celled zygotes. And this reality has behaved in the same manner. And we have come to know it and come to know a million things about it. And then when you go to science, all you have is an extension of that body of real knowledge that all humans have. And we extend it and we learn a little bit more while we find out what is inside of that little dot of ink or dot of pond water that we can't see with our naked eye, right? And we learn a little bit more about it. And then we learn about molecules and atoms and all of those things. But they're all based on this reality that we all know, that every one of us trust. There isn't one of these people, these Christians, that aren't naturalists because they live in the natural world. They eat natural food. They put it in their natural mouth and shit it out in their natural toilets. And I mean, it's just naturalism all the way down. And every one of them relies on that naturalism. And they depend on that naturalism and have faith in it when they're even talking to us. They have faith that we're going to understand the words coming out of their mouth. So, I mean, and none of that requires God, obviously, because Dave, you and I never had God. So we didn't need it. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway. That's my idea that, basically science is just an extension of the knowledge that we all have, just natural, everyday knowledge and reality, which is something that we can trust totally. In fact, we have no choice but to trust it because the very beating of our heart depends upon it. The feeding of our faces depends upon it. To do anything in the world, you have to have that faith in naturalism.
And one of the arguments is always that many scientists have been wrong. And it's like, but that's not always a bad thing.
So who cares?
Proving something wrong adds to the body of knowledge, right?
Right.
If mixing these 2 chemicals doesn't make paint, then you failed at making paint. But the next person knows, hey, don't bother, mixing those chemicals together. It's not going to make paint. Right? Here's a better recipe for paint.
Yeah, I go up and down the stairs 20 times a day, and every now and then I'm totally wrong about it, and I fall. I miss a step, right, or spill some coffee or whatever. I mean, every now and then.
Don't let Jimbob hear that. He's going to clip it.
Oh, he's going to clip it. Yeah. Yeah,
he was already saying you got a nurse coming a couple times a week or something.
Yeah, it's funny.
What does she wear when she comes, Mike? Curious minds need to know.
Yeah. You gotta see what she wears. Oh, you're talking about her. Okay. Anyway, this thing about age with him, like he's about 40, I think, and in a blink of an eye, he's gonna be 70, and he's gonna look in the mirror, and I hope the fuck he remembers all the shit he gives old people. It's just like, fuck you, youngins. You have no idea how quick it's gonna go by, and how quickly you're gonna look in the mirror and say, "Oh fuck, I'm gray, I'm old." Whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they act like it's never going to happen to them, right? It's like it's going to happen to every single one of us, you fuckers.
That's the meme that goes around. I always knew I would grow old, but I never realized it would happen this fast.
Yeah, something like that. I never realized I'd look this bad.
It depends, it's the luck of the draw. There's some there's some people out there that are aging very well. You see photos of where are they now, or just regular folks, whatever.
Yeah.
And some people just age well. There was this one woman, she like 100 years old or something. You wouldn't think she was past 50, 60 years old. She looked great.
I saw that the other day. There was like a 100-year-old woman. She looked like Christ. She looked like she was 60.
Yeah.
Well, remember the same AI and Photoshop they can apply to young people's images. They can also apply to older people's images.
But some of these are actually legit. And I mean, William Shatner is a little, he's got a few extra pounds or whatever, but does he look like he's in his 90s? Clint Eastwood, he's looking like he's in his 90s. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, this Breakfast Tacos is talking about induction. It's possible you could mix blue and yellow 100 times and get green, and then 101th time purple. But I've never seen that. And like, has anybody ever seen it where you mix blue and yellow paint and get green and purple?
Yep.
I mean, has anyone ever seen induction fail? Like I deal with induction with numbers all the time in programming models that I do.
Well, the only real life example I can think of of induction failing is when in 5th grade, maybe it was 6th grade, I started hearing about the coelacanth, which was one thought to be extinct. No coelacanths have been found in the wild, and blah blah blah. Therefore, all coelacanths are extinct. Oh, we found some coelacanths out in the ocean. Well, that's kind of so any conclusion that was kind of based on the extinction of the coelacanths, the whatever arguments based on that, the inductive arguments, failed once we discovered that coelacanths were still alive.
Right.
So you have the most or mostly, which is what you can do. You can say, okay, well, they're mostly gone, and it's probably true whatever conclusion you came to based on the extinction of previous species of that particular creature. So, inductive arguments failing, you could just add a probably to it and still have strong arguments for real world applications.
Yeah. But when does the induction involved in arithmetic fail? It doesn't ever, and never will. And when does the induction involved in thermodynamics or gravity fail? Basically, I mean, you can say, "Oh, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to own a green Toyota." I can say that, right? And then, lo and behold, I buy a green Toyota. I mean, it's like there are different kinds of induction, and basically, there's a kind that we rely on with naturalism that never fails. It has never failed us.
Hey, we have Nathan Artwork.
Oh, wow.
Joining us.
Wow.
I really wish you would come on and talk to us, Nathan, because we're just curious about what you've been doing in these intervening years.
Yeah. Well, I thought he went to work for like a church or something.
Yeah, that's what I recall is, and I could have this totally wrong, so don't get mad at me, Nathan, but that you went to work for a Jehovah's Witness church or something, or some church, and you had to kind of cool down on the atheism social stuff. But I could be wrong, and forgive me if I'm spreading vicious rumors.
Yeah. Okay, let's listen to Bahnsen a little bit.
In fact, what I would argue is one first chooses a worldview where there is an epistemology and a metaphysical outlook that in some measure are coordinate with each other. It is not an accident in the history of philosophy that people who had a philosophy such as Plato's, an idealistic philosophy, also came up with the intuitionist or rationalist epistemology. Because they thought that the realm of ideas and ultimate truth was outside.
You need to mute yourself, Scott.
Yeah, Scott is up.
You mean that's not entertaining?
No, what was it? Were you squeaking? Okay.
Side of time and space, it only made
No, this guy is squeaking. Bahnsen is
I was typing in the side chat, and y'all picked up on that.
Everything goes thumpy, thumpy, thump.
sense then that their theory of knowledge would rely upon intuition of those things that go beyond human experience, or rational concepts which are clear and distinct and all men know innately, rather than knowing them from the observation of the world and their experience. And in the history of philosophy, it is no surprise that those who have denied that kind of thing and have said this world is all there is, have come up with what we call an empirical epistemology.
What's that?
I was just wondering, what do we really know innately that's not just basic shit that a toddler knows, and we build on that?
Yeah.
I don't know what we know innately. And to say that we know about morality, we know there's a God, that's bullshit. I can tell you now, that's just bullshit.
I've never seen a zygote talk about his worldview, right? I mean, nor have I seen a newborn come out with a worldview. I don't know. I mean, these are things we acquire living in reality. And it just really is not as complicated as philosophers like to make it.
That's what Tay used to say when he was alive, that all views are wrong views. There's only reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we get Leo here. Rational constant.
Hello, Leo.
What did I do?
Scott's typing again.
Sorry.
You mute yourself before you type. Damn it. Who are you talking to? Self-evident truth of our shared naturalistic atheistic. Okay, where are we here? Yeah, there you go. Tacos. Self-evident truth of our shared naturalistic atheistic reality has been revealed to all of sound mind through both natural and special revelation in an undeniable way. And that's basically what I'm saying. There's this brute, in-your-face reality that everyone, no matter how pompous their philosophy, subscribes to. And they wouldn't be writing their philosophy down if it weren't for that naturalistic, atheistic reality.
And I think he's kind of said it wrong, Speed. If you're going to read it, you have to say, the self-evident truth of our shared naturalistic, atheistic reality.
Go on.
That's how it goes in my head because of Breakfast Tacos influence.
Okay.
How did I do, Breakfast Tacos?
Epistemology. A theory of knowledge that is based on observation and experience. Whatever we know through our senses. Because this world around us...
No, doesn't work. We don't know it through just our senses. Basically, we know it by living in reality. And there's a whole lot more to learning how to walk than just your senses. And that's what they miss. That's kind of naive empiricism, that everything comes to us as sense data, and I deny that.
The world of time and space, the physical domain, is all there is or ain't no more. And so you mustn't have the naive idea, which even some of your professors will teach, that you can choose your epistemology with a kind of neutrality toward whether there's a God or what the nature of reality is. You choose your epistemology, and everyone comes to agree on what the method of knowing will be, and then we all take that method of knowing and we apply it to the world, and we find out what reality is all about.
No, that's not how it works. It's just not how it works. They always miss the developmental aspect of being a living creature in the world, in reality, basically. And that comes first. Before you start blowing your fucking horn about epistemology and foundationalism and God or whatever, you do a whole lot of learning before that. And it amounts to millions of bits of information that your body is responding to in order to create the kind of an organism that can live in the world, basically.
And aren't they going to reject anything that doesn't agree with the Bible anyways?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they will. They got nothing else. Oh, where are we here? Okay, hide message. So
here's a hokey little story to show you why that's impossible. Let's imagine that you have an apple orchard. And you've got a lot of apples coming in, and you want to sell these apples. And in order to do so, you're going to have to sort the good apples from the bad apples. Because if you just dump any number of apples indiscriminately and arbitrarily into a box, try to sell them, you're going to find that the produce people who turn around and sell this to the public will be very unhappy with you. They don't want to buy a box that arbitrarily has bad apples in it. And so in order for you to make money selling your apples, you're going to have to sort the apples. And so you devise a machine that sorts the apples. And you dump all of your apples into this machine, and I don't even know what the internal guts of this thing would look like, but the apples go in this side, and then the machine does its work, and then the good apples come out over here into one bin and the bad apples into another bin. All right, y'all got the picture? An apple sorting machine, great idea. We want to determine the good apples from the bad apples, and what we're going to do is devise a machine to do that for us. Now that machine, in the broadest sense, is a method of apple sorting. Right? That machine pursues some procedure or method whereby the good and the bad apples are separated. And now here's the $64,000 question. Are you all awake? Would it be possible to devise such a machine, that is, put together such a method, if you did not know in advance a good apple from a bad apple?
could we build a machine to do something if we didn't know what we wanted the machine to do? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
So?
What if I was new to this whole realm? Let's say I had never been exposed to apples in my life. I hardly knew what an apple was. And I inherit this orchard. And then I'm going to build a machine that separates the good apples from the bad apples when I know nothing about apples. What's the likelihood of success? Oh, nearly zero. I suppose if this universe has any kind of randomness to it, I might accidentally make a machine that does it.
Okay,
Well, it doesn't really. Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. Why would you be building a machine to sort the apples if you didn't already have some concept of sorting the apples to begin with?
Yeah, that you have to have that kind of. And anyway, what good apples versus bad apples? That's so fuzzy. That I mean, we all pretty much know that if the apple tastes bad, maybe if it's you have to decide arbitrarily if it's got 3.4 cubic centimeters of bruising spots. You'd have to test some of the apples to make sure they're not too soft or too hard, because in testing of them, you might create bad apples. So you also have to have a system to throw out the ones that you test. Right. And then, but what if I kind of like a squishy apple with a little bit of bruising. What that just kind of excites me a little. To me, that's not a bad apple. And so just to even design a good apple from a bad apple, you're assuming a whole lot of uniformity. And
a salute to all the species that drop dead to let us know, don't eat that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty apparent a long time ago when you looked and, all these things are, expired and looks like they were eating that. Better not eat that. Like you were saying, a child induction looks bad. Looks bad, right?
You can figure, I mean, if you've never seen a fruit before, we can make a pretty good guess as to whether or not we should eat it or not. Whether it's like growing mold and mushrooms out of it, don't eat it. Whatever.
So, of course, what he's saying is, can you decide, what's a good system of knowledge versus a bad system of knowledge if you don't already have a system of knowledge? But I don't know what's necessarily wrong with that, but that's what he's trying to argue.
Which is a word Mike doesn't like, is emergent, that these things all came together. It's not one or the other.
I started liking emergence when somebody gave me a nice, tangible way of thinking about it. There's a couple different views on emergence, and there's a softer view, which, isn't bad. So anyway, I don't know what kind of video you're making, breakfast tacos, but I think I want to watch it. I don't know. Anyway.
Taco getting busy.
Yeah, getting busy.
That is, if you don't know something about apples to begin with, you can't devise a method for separating them.
Oh, bullshit.
And in the same way, if you don't know something about the universe to begin with, if you don't know something about reality to begin with, if you don't know something about the difference between truth and error about the universe to begin with, you can't devise a method that separates the true conclusions from the false conclusions about.
Okay. So this is the bullshit, right? That let's play that.
Like we were just saying, you make a true conclusion that, I don't really have to eat those berries to know that everything else that has eaten those berries, it has not gone well for. Either they were violently ill, or maybe they were hallucinating and running around all crazy, on some kind of trip, or they dropped over dead. And
maggots is where I draw the line. Okay.
And in the same way, if you don't know something about the universe to begin with, if you don't know something.
Okay, you don't need to know anything about the universe to begin with. All human beings, all animals develop in the world. We are organisms in the world, and we acquire 99% of our knowledge by just living in the world. It's why we're in the world. Evolution has seen to that. We would not be in the world if we did not learn those things. You do not have to have a worldview or know anything about the universe as a whole in order to get out of bed and shove something in your mouth, coffee. That is the bullshit, right? They want to pull this. He wants to wedge God in here somewhere, right? That there's no possibility of knowing anything at all unless you have God. And that is no different than what I'm saying. That there's no possibility of knowing anything at all unless you grew in the world, unless you developed in the world. If you
and that's what philosophy students are. None of these philosophers are people who literally started with a blank slate, and developed a philosophy from the ground up. They might write books that attempt to kind of show, act as if that's what they did, but everybody started out as as an infant, as a toddler, learning all sorts of things, eating the berries that give you diarrhea, having other bad berries slapped out of your hand, eating the good ones, and so if you're going to write your your algorithm for separating berries or whatever, you're going to have plenty of world experience before you ever sit down to pin that algorithm. You're going to have encountered a universe. You're going to have, grown up and developed in that universe. And you're also going to have your own thoughts about the universe. And then you sit down and write your philosophy.
And very early, you're going to know that it is true. If I poke myself in the eye, it's going to hurt. I mean, that's one of the first things that we learn is not to poke ourselves in the eye, not to hurt ourselves, that sort of thing.
And we can always throw back, don't create poison berries. How about that?
Yeah.
Make sure you can eat all the berries, or all the mushrooms, well, Mike's favorite topic. They tell everybody, if you don't know what you're doing, don't go picking your own mushrooms, because so many look alike, and one you can eat and another one you don't want to eat. So who thought of that? Who thought of that, right?
They are not saying you can't have knowledge, because we all do have knowledge, so we know that we can all have it. They are saying you can't justify knowledge or other transcendentals, which is just a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding.
Yeah. Knowledge is facts about the world that you store in your brain, and the knowledge is kind of the collection of those. And it's always incomplete, always tentative, always partial. Well, partial and incomplete are the same thing, but they're always tentative.
And everybody thinks of things differently too. So
I don't think you have. Well, I don't think you have to justify knowledge. You have to justify your conclusions about knowledge. But I don't think you have to justify bare knowledge. Like I know my dog is black. I know I have a brown pair of reading glasses. I know all sorts of these facts. I don't have to justify it. It's in my brain.
Yeah.
Right. And you got Taco here, and speaking of Grayson earlier, they're real good at, pulling all that stuff back out of their head just like that, And for me, I got to think about it for a minute, I'm not on it. And when they're throwing these questions at me, bam, 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 it's like, slow down, slow down, right?
Let's see here. How many philosophical discussions have you had with anyone where they reject your ability to make claims, right?
Only when they're losing. Only when they're a Christian and they're losing. Well, how can you even ground what you're saying? You don't know.
Ground truth, right?
You ground what you're saying. You have nothing to ground it in. There's no God in your belief system.
Yeah, he talked to Jimbob for 5 minutes and he goes meta on you. Like you talking to him about evolution. All of a sudden, it's like, well, how did you evolve to know
reaction from losing?
Can a man have a baby? Tell me, Captive Desk. Tell us all. Can a man have a baby? Like, what's that got to do with it's like,
yeah, what the hell is
Zoom? Where did we go with, I don't know. Oh, I had 50 of them in the chat asking me, "What's a woman?" It's like, oh, cripes! It's like,
by the way, Scott,
so old.
Greg Abbott lost a lawsuit with I forget what the name of the organization is, but it's the group that handles ministers that have lost their atheists now, and they need help with whatever that is. They tried to put a display in the Capitol, and Greg Abbott threw it out. And he just threw out the atheist display, and he had to pay them $385,000 in damage.
I think
Greg
that's
Abbott is a shame. He is a disgrace to anybody that has a pulse.
Is that the Clergy Project?
Clergy Project is the product.
Yeah,
Clergy Project is the ex-ministers or whatever.
Yeah, okay, it's something else that I'm thinking about.
Usually it's Church of Satan or some group that's just going, nah, you don't make sense.
Well, I think the Freedom from Religion Foundation is
that's
a branch off with the Clergy Project or something like that.
Freedom from Religion. They in 2017 they sued Greg Abbott because they had a display in the Capitol alongside of a manger display, and they lost. they lost in
Scott's typing again.
10 different.
Sorry.
It's your
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they branched off to the group of the clergy project to specifically, help people that they said there's people that are preaching every Sunday that no longer believe what they're preaching, but it's their livelihood. They don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Something about reality to begin with. If you don't know something about the difference between truth and error about the universe to begin with, you can't devise a method that separates the true conclusions from the false conclusions about reality, can you? You can't even devise an epistemology, an apple sorting machine, unless you already know something about reality. You already know something about the apples to begin with. Everyone begins with a worldview. Everyone begins with a certain view of reality. And in terms of that reality, or that perception, that conception of reality, you devise your epistemology, your theory of knowledge. And so neutrality is indeed impossible. What I've been arguing against here is called philosophical method.
If neutrality were impossible, then raccoons couldn't survive, right? Because they don't have any epistemology, they don't have a worldview, they don't know about the universe, they don't know what the word truth and false means, yet they still live.
Methodism has nothing to do with the Methodist Church. Philosophical Methodism is the view that method takes precedence over every other consideration in philosophy. One first gains a method of knowing, and then you argue about ethics. Then you argue about metaphysics. And the apple sorting machine story was simply to illustrate the impossibility of philosophical Methodism. Nobody has a theory of knowledge that is neutral. All right, so we've gotten the point across that no one is neutral. We've gotten the point across that people have worldviews that control their thinking. And now the question that was asked last night, and I said you have to sleep on it. Well,
this is just pure projection. It's because they have this God thing that is the base of their worldview. They think that all organisms have to have the same abstract idea in order to find out how to wipe your ass. I mean, what the hell?
Once you're talking about you can grow up and live and everything and stuff and never have to deal with these things. But if you want to, or you go to higher education and you start thinking about all these things, then you can say, I believe it's X, and the other person says, I believe it's Y. And then you can figure out ways, either through the scientific method or through logical arguments or whatever, to come to a reasonable conclusion, which one's right.
Right.
So it's always, it's building upon, it's, he thinks like it's all right there at the beginning, and it's just not. There are some things that are, but other things require, more deeper thought and everything, but it's not a requirement for everybody. That's like when any of these creationists or anything, well, where's the universe come from? Or they throw these questions at me.
Right.
It's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
It's just these things I don't know, and nobody knows. So you keep asking these questions like they're big gotchas or something. It's like, well, there's people working on these things, right? So when they get an answer, I'll get back to you, right?
Inspiring philosophies arguments, I think, is what he means by IP arguments.
Probably.
What are we going to do then when two worldviews come up against one another? How are we going to argue with the unbeliever?
Yeah, I think he did a video on IP.
Is Christianity even a worldview? I mean, I don't know if it qualifies.
Well, he's saying no neutrality. He's pushing that over and over. That's something Ken Ham says, and I told you that new Martin Isles whole thing is the zero tolerance theme.
Yeah. Yep.
So the no neutrality idea is my way or the highway is what he's saying.
Okay.
Realize that Every system of thought has a starting point which verifies itself. And that's not the sort of thing you're going to hear at the university. People don't like to admit that, but it's inescapable. Every system of thought has what we call a self-attesting authority for itself. For you see, every system of thought, when it develops its apple sorting machine, is going to have to verify and verify and verify the claims that are made, but eventually it's going to stop verifying and saying, that's just it, that's the obvious. Because no argument runs on and on and on and on.
Right, and the naturalist will just use naturalism basically as the grounding of our worldview and what we find for truth and falsity, right? And that is because we are all naturalists.
Every system of thought gets to the place where they say that's the most basic standard for knowing. And then if you ask the question, well, how do you know that that's the right standard? A person is either going to have to offer that standard as the verification of the standard, or is going to look at something else outside of that standard to verify the standard. Now, if you look at something outside of that standard, is the standard the ultimate one? Obviously not, because what you look at that point becomes more ultimate than what you called your ultimate standard. So now we got to start the question all over again. Now that thing that you appealed to, is it an ultimate standard? If it's an ultimate standard, it is going.
See, the word absolute and ultimate are where they bring in religion. Okay, the idea of absolute, ultimate sort of thing. Ultimate foundational grounding of something, I believe, are religious ideas to begin with, and you're going to go bad if you start looking for that. Okay, we're here, we have the knowledge of adults, and we find ourselves in a world, and if we want to start thinking about what's going on, we look around and we read and we figure things out from there, basically. So you start in the middle, you already have a basis for knowledge. This fucker put a tie on before he got up to that podium, right? And he had a great deal of knowledge in order to put that tie on, or even to understand why he was wearing a tie. Okay? He had all of that, and none of it required him to ground that knowledge. He had that knowledge. It's basically given to all of us in naturalism. And the way you justify naturalism is you have all of this everyday knowledge. Then you go start to read science. Then you find out that we're organisms. Then you find out that we have brains, and you start figuring out what those fucking things do. And it comes back to basically naturalism all the way through. It explains everything about you that you need explained, basically. But you don't start at some bottom and work your way up. You start in the middle, where we all are, with naturalism, and then you go around and you can justify naturalism. So it's a network of things. I think that's called found-herentism.
I got a siren in the background, but when he was saying that, I heard it in Darth Dawkins' voice about what is the ultimate, and what is it was. We got to have the ultimate, because it can't be just another infinite regress. There has to be the ultimate. It has to be the first ultimate, or whatever.
Let's see. The ultimate he is using is literally just rewording, framing necessary being. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Going to have to be the first. Authorize itself or appeal to something outside of itself. If it appeals to something outside of itself, is it the ultimate standard? No, I mean, this is getting boring, Dr. Bahnsen. Move on. You all get the point, don't you? In the nature of the case, an ultimate standard must authorize itself. And that's why unbelieving systems of thought have to be pressed to see that they have got an ultimate authority for their thinking, just like you have an ultimate authority for your thinking. And when it gets around to verifying that ultimate authority over against the other person's ultimate authority, I will end up eventually assuming my ultimate authority, but so will the unbeliever. The unbeliever will assume his or her ultimate authority in the process of reasoning, and I will assume my ultimate authority in the process of reasoning, even when we're talking about what the ultimate authority should be.
He's using the word ultimate over and over again. He's going to replace it with God at some point. And it's kind of designed. And no, the question is what do you mean by ultimate? And why is it necessary to have an ultimate authority for anything? Basically, he's appealing to one idea in epistemology, which is called foundationalism, which is like one out of about 5 main branches of epistemology, or ideas about epistemology. And you do not need to stick with just foundationalism. Epistemologists have been arguing for 2 millennia about that, whether or not you need it. And he just kind of like keeps introducing it. So he's going to switch to God here before long.
Also, isn't he also just kind of slipping in the word authority here?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Authority. You know, I've not read a whole lot of philosophy, but the only ones I hear ever really talking about authority is presuppositionalists. And it just seems kind of, well, what are you talking about ultimate authority? We're trying to find, maybe the foundational axioms of our particular system of thought, but authority, we follow reason, we follow the laws of logic, but that's not an authority. That's just rationality. If you do the opposite of the laws of logic, you're being irrational. You're not being submissive.
Yeah. Yeah, he's slipping it in, and he's doing this circular thing because it is meant to be confusing, basically. Ontology, and yeah, definitely. The authority part is, okay, you highlighted the same thing I did. Authority part is drawing in the mind part. Yep. Have to have.
You're going, Dr. Bahnsen, how are we going to get through this then? It seems like they're going to be, sealed off from any witness, any effective defense, just like we are. It's going to be, we're in different towers yelling at each other, but never able to get together, never have any meaningful intellectual contact. There is no neutrality. Worldviews tend to be self-attesting. That is, they assume an ultimate authority which authorizes itself. So how do we reason with these people?
We can reason about things.
I don't think he's going to say just shut us up and don't try to reason with them. Try to show them how circular or foundationalist their worldview is. But God isn't foundationalist.
No neutrality. He's right, and
the question
we're wrong.
We're going to be asking, in one form or another, is which worldview makes human experience intelligible?
Okay.
Which worldview makes human experience intelligible?
Naturalism. It makes it all intelligible. Once you start learning about the kind of organism we are, and you start learning about how the mind works or how the brain works, all of this becomes intelligible. And the thing is that no one has patience to listen to how it becomes intelligible. And that's the problem I have with dealing with these idiots.
Which worldview comports with those things that the Christian and the non-Christian both say or do? Earlier today I told you that though there is an antithesis in principle, unbelievers cannot work in God's world according to their own philosophy. They are going to be inconsistent. They are going to say things and do things that do not comport with what they profess about the nature of reality and how we know and how we should live our lives. And so one of the things you're going to be asking is, how is it that what we both want to say about, say, torturing children being wrong, how is it?
I keep picking on the children. What the fuck? I mean, it's always their go-to, right? Torturing babies. I mean, what the hell is wrong with these people? Do they sit around and think about this all the time, or what?
That these things that we hold in common can be true. Which worldview makes sense out of that? Which worldview makes human experience intelligible? Now, in asking which worldview, I'm asking what network of presuppositions about reality, knowledge, and ethics makes human experience intelligible. What do we mean by human experience?
So is he saying that a worldview is nothing but your presuppositions?
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's kind of a meager, anemic worldview, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just clarifying.
it is.
Anything. Human experience involves anything whatsoever. You can take the unbeliever and talk to him or her about any subject whatsoever. And you can talk to your milkman, or you can talk to the philosophy professor about anything they want to talk about, and the same problems are going to arise. By human experience, we simply mean all those.
There's some kind of whistling going on in the background of this video. What do you think it is? Somebody's like writing or squeaking on side. I don't know.
Well, I interpreted that as the Sharpie or whatever on the dry erase marker on the dry erase board. Those
Yeah, but
sometimes
he's not drawing on the board.
he's writing.
Not now.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Not while I was hearing the squeaking.
We can do.
I was muted because I was typing, so it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. So it's definitely.
Oh, it very well could have been me. I'm sure there's something going on in my background that's squeaking, but I don't know what it is.
No, it's not you either, because you basically when I stop the video, it goes away.
Doorknob head. I think Bahnsen did his teaching. Must have been in the 70s. You don't see anything there to hint that that this guy taught after 1999 or anything, do you?
No, he died in like 1995, I think.
Okay, so this is like the 70s or 80s,
Possibly.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe if Breakfast Taco is still with us, he says he's seen all those Bahnsen videos. When was he speaking here?
Yeah.
Anybody know?
Blaster Master is gonna join the desk on Tuesday. I'm gonna do a little birthday stream, and we're gonna talk about aliens.
You're 27 years old.
Yep, I'll be 27.
Okay.
In five days, we're gonna talk about some aliens at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Cool.
All those things that we say, all of our conduct, all of our attitudes. And so that you can take your roommate in college and deal with anything that's part of his or her experience and challenge them to make it intelligible. Now, what do we mean by make it intelligible? Which philosophy of reality, knowledge, and ethics can take those things which we believe and do in human experience and make them intelligible? And by that we mean make sense of them or see them as meaningful.
Wait a minute. What?
Perhaps the easiest way to illustrate this would be
He just snuck something else in, meaning, right? Seeing them as meaningful.
And that's like Scott said, very vague. I mean,
yeah. So he set up the word ultimate, authority, and meaningful, and he just snuck them in the back door.
If the religion is meaning for you, it doesn't mean it is for somebody else. That's just so vague.
Yep. Let's see, where are we at here?
Because I don't think I know I don't, and I don't think Mike does either. We're not arguing against that these people in whatever have experiences and stuff, and for whatever reason, if the Bible or the religion you're in is very special to you, it's like it's very hard to argue that it's special to you, that it has a lot of meaning, right? Just like anything else would have a lot of meaning to somebody else. It's hard to argue against that. If it's meaningful to you, it's meaningful to you. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah, I think he probably graduated high school in about 66. So this is probably 70s or 80s, probably 80s.
Belief. If you have a roommate or a professor who says that a certain kind of activity, maybe oppressing the poor, is immoral, what you're going to be asking is, well, now, Professor, what outlook on reality, knowledge, and ethics will make what you've just said about oppressing the poor meaningful? Let's assume that we are in the worldview of evolution, materialistic, atheistic evolution. What is man? That's one of the questions having to do with reality, the nature.
Man is the kind of creature that by the time he is 12 years old, he should know that oppressing the poor is not good. And if he hasn't figured that out, you need to slap him until he does. So
that's social species stuff too. That's social species interaction. That's do unto others. It's good for the group. Those are primal things. That might be like lizard brain or something, isn't it? Or is it above that?
Yeah, I mean, it's there are
it's good for the group. So it's obviously everybody needs to eat in the group. So there's no good reason to starve some of the group.
They've done experiments with primates proving that they have an idea of fairness and what is good and what is bad, and they don't have any understanding of God at all.
What is man? Well, the answer here is man is, well, one of the advanced animals, really. He is just primordial slime that is developed by chance over eons and eons and is now somehow miraculously, except we can't have miracles in an atheistic world, oh no. Miraculously, somehow, we're still trying to figure it out, has become this complicated creature that we see. Okay?
That's just an argument for incredulity right there.
Yeah.
At least that's what he's trying to get by on this. Oh, it's too incredulous. You can't understand. There's no way to know how that happened. So it's an unintelligible point of view.
And he's just gonna reject if you say, well, evolution explains. Oh, that's just blah blah blah. So they're just gonna reject all the attempted explanations at these things and the things they're still working on, like abiogenesis and cures for diseases and all these things, because the scientists don't just throw their hands up in the air and give up and say it must be magic, because so far that hasn't cured anybody or taken us to the moon or given us the internet or et cetera, et cetera.
Now, one question I have with all this precept stuff is they want you to go down and presuppose that God exists, and somehow because some theistic entity exists, we have a meaningful approach, a meaningful reason to say, that's wrong to harm children. It's wealth inequality is equal. Oppression of the poor is evil. But what exactly is being presupposed about a God in order to make anything like that intelligible?
Yeah. How do fish know not to eat their own children?
Because it's very easy to pile upon what should be presuppositional, pile upon certain specific things that don't really qualify as a presupposition. You're just assuming the whole nature of God, where where maybe you can only presuppose certain limited aspects about a theistic God.
Yep.
Am I being heard?
You are. You are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
that it's adding something. Okay, you're adding the God, but like I often say, it's like it doesn't seem to really do any good until after you die.
yeah, there's nothing in presupposing the existence of a God that God, this theistic being, this theistic entity, is just and therefore cares about the poor. You have a Bible that says this particular God does, but that's just assertions about a theistic God. That's not really showing those things which you can presuppose about a God.
Yeah. Well, if God gives a shit about the poor, he'd fix it, right?
Well, that's again, he's going to when you die. After you die,
After you die.
you're not going to be hungry anymore. You're not going to be sick anymore. Depending what belief, you're going to be in some kind of awesome body or just no body at all. Just a loving presence forever and ever. It's all that is. You have to die first, though. Nothing is going to change now. Right.
The Christian idea of raising a kid is put him through hell so he becomes a good adult, right? You got to put him through hell. I put up with that shit. Anyway, I did not put my kids through hell. That's all I did was cut weeds for them and make their lives as comfortable as they possibly could. And my sons are probably two of the most honorable men that I've ever met. And they had no, other than my alcoholism when they were 16 and 17, they had basically no stumbling blocks in their youth. You don't have to torture your kids to make good men out of them, whatever. Anyway, I'm kind of ready to give up for the day, guys. We've had enough Bahnsen for the moment.
See, Mama dropped in to say hello to the fellow Jimbob critics. I see Mama was firing away in there.
Yep. We it's good to go over there and stir Jimbob up and give him some content, by.
Yeah, it's all your fault. I was minding my own business, and then you said something.
I told you about it, right?
And then my finger has gotta go click on it, and it's like, what'd I do that for?
It was a composition.
But like I said, I have planted the seed. You can see my avatar up there is you can't get the text in because you got to crop it, but underneath it says Gods Don't Real, because I watch Sir Sick. I'm sure a lot of people know who Sir Sick is.
Yeah.
And Sir Sick says often Gods Don't Real. And I think I just watched maybe a video or something. So, it was stuck in my head. And somebody said something in the chat, and I said, Gods Don't Real, right? So it just, came out, right? And then they're all like, oh, and I was like, hey, I can't take credit. Sir Sick says it. You know what I mean? I wanted to make it clear.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to start a contest. So I guess I'm the contest winner with this picture, and it says Gods Don't Real under it, which I think is a great, planting of the seed over there. So
I think it's awesome. It's amazing how much time he spends on us, Sooner or later, he's going to learn to ignore us. But anyway, okay. I want to quit for the day. I've got a meeting coming up. So I got to go do some stuff.
And Maya. Hello, Maya. Good
Maya.
To see you.
Been quiet. Anyway, that was a little bit of the pre-sub bullshit, but I think oh shit.
Yeah, Blaster loves Sir Sick. He's got a good shtick going over there. If you haven't checked out Sir Sick, it's good for a laugh. It's very lighthearted.
It's really funny. It's really cool. Yeah, he's got the whole Game of Thrones theme going on with his animation, right?
So.
Which is
and he really hates the humans.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to quit for the day. So, you ready?
Thanks everybody for stopping through. A lot of people
Yeah.
stopped through, and good to see everybody.
Yeah, I wish we could be more coherent, but I'm just not that kind of a guy. I just spit it out. Anyway, okay. Goodbye, cruel world.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.